Hey everybody, welcome back. Another episode of the Up Journal. Sitting in the cabin tonight. What's going on, Dan?
It's hot. It's August.
Yep.
You know, it was supposed to rain today, but guess what? Everybody else, I think, got rain except us.
Dude, it rained hard yesterday.
It not
poured.
where I was.
It poured where I was at.
And then I missed it totally coming back from Chesterfield yesterday.
So, as usual, we're going to do a little sharing here on Facebook.
Yeah,
give us just a second.
Sharing.
Hey, Jim Miller, thanks for joining in tonight. And I did see Jim post something on Facebook. There's a local ice cream shop that if your name's on their board, they give out free ice cream to you. I think Jim got a free ice cream today.
No kidding.
Hey, Cody, what's up, man?
All right.
Good to hear from you. Travis Menton, Tom Ginsel. Hey, guys, what's going on? Let's do some quick sharing here. And we will get going.
Okay.
Give me just a second. Okay, there's one. Let's do another one. Hopefully everybody's having a good weekend this weekend. Beautiful weekend here in Michigan. Actually, we had a little rain yesterday, but it wasn't too bad. So hopefully everybody's having a good time. Getting out, getting your bow shot, getting some last minute fishing in, and all that kind of good stuff. So. And
hold on. There we go.
One more and I am done, Dan.
Give me 2 seconds here. Share there.
Okay, you let me know when you're ready.
Yep. Dun, 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 dun.
Get your volume turned down over there on your
I will have
cell phone?
it shortly.
And as always, sitting here with our Hunter's Blend coffee. I forgot my cup at work.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Just one of them things, I left it.
Oh, come on.
All right, well, I'm going to rock this thing while you're sitting there.
Twiddling my thumbs.
Yep, here we go. Stand by 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal. Everybody, host Mike Adams sitting in the cabin tonight with Dan DeFaw as he is sharing here on Facebook.
I am.
You all right?
I'm getting there.
Good weekend?
Well, yeah, it was a good weekend. Spent it at Cabela's.
You know, before we get too heavily into the show tonight, I want to mention this coming Saturday, Spot Shooter Archery. Event starts at 9 o'clock? 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Make sure you get over there. It's Bowfest. I think it's the 11th annual, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Dan will be there early.
I'll be there early, and you'll be there later.
Yeah, I'll be there right around maybe noonish, somewhere around that area. But this year, Danny and I are going to be serving some coffee as well. Hunter's Blend, like we drink right here on the show. So we'll be giving out samples. So come on over to the shop. Check out some great bow deals.
Right. Get over there.
Get your gear for the upcoming archery season. And have some coffee on us. So
yeah,
and actually we're going to have it. It actually is going to be for sale there as well.
Right, exactly. You've heard us interview them, so now you can come up and try it.
Right on.
If you haven't tried it already.
That's right. So are you ready here?
I'm ready.
All right. I'm glad you are because I've been rolling here, so we're rocking along.
And my media's down, so we're good to go.
All right. Good weekend this weekend.
Oh, you know what?
Busy.
It was. We're at Cabela's.
Yep.
It was a classic fall hunting
classic.
Only one little problem though.
Everybody was outside doing something.
Everybody else was outside doing something else.
Right. But that's the way it is.
You know, it's a hit and miss with that one. Because if it was been cold and rainy outside,
right. Yeah,
people would have been inside.
You know, I was driving down today, down to Chesterfield, and you know, that is right off of Lake St. Clair, right there on the water. Yep. And that plays right into what we want to talk about.
Absolutely. You know, we're a mile from Lake St. Clair when we're at Chesterfield.
Absolutely.
And everybody goes over there and does the usual fishing for worms and going for walleye using worms and stuff. But our guest tonight is exclusive to fly fishing.
Yeah?
Yeah. And you know what? And best of all, he's related to me.
Welcome to the show, Eli.
Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, good to have you on. Sorry that you're related to Danny. I mean, I put up with him a lot here in the studio, but being related to him, what's that like? I'm going to hammer him right now while I got a chance.
Take, right?
Right on. I hear you. So
Eli, Great Lakes fly fishing.
Great Lakes fly.
Exactly.
There's a different Great Lakes fly fishing out there. So
okay, so we're going to come on, Danny.
Crossed.
We're going to keep it Great Lakes fly.
Come on, Dan.
Which is you.
Yep.
And you know what? You're going to have to take us back and kind of take us to when you got this urge to get into fly fishing. Because I think of fly fishing, I think of you see the guy fly fishing on a trout stream or something like that.
Sure.
But you like to go after these big toothy type creatures.
Oh man, I'll go with anything that hits a fly with bad intentions. But muskies are the apex; they're the top of the line. But anything that hits a fly with bad intentions, which includes bluegill, and that's how I got started. It was a family vacation, probably almost 20, 25 years ago. A family friend had stopped by and said, "Hey, I got a fly fishing rig. You ever try it?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, let's try some bluegills." And he let me borrow it for a couple days, and I was absolutely hooked. Now I had seen a river run through it, and that kind of got me a little bit familiar with it, which it did for. I mean, it was a huge boost to the fly fishing industry. Was river runs through it, but just bluegills, man. It's here in fly fishing we call that the gateway fish.
Okay.
Like it's what gets you into everything else.
You know what? I can understand that because I went over, I bought a simple fly rod and stuff. And actually, I went over to a little lake over here, and that's kind of what I was doing, was just kind of getting used to how to do it. And it was bluegills. I can understand that.
Right.
Yeah, and they fight like crazy, especially when you get big ones. And then, I mean, when you want to take it to another level, I know some of the best fly fishermen I know. Their number one challenge or one of their top 5 challenges is trying to get trophy bluegills on the fly. It's not easy. It's easy to get the little 4, 5, 6 inchers out there, but if you really want to get the big ones, I mean, it tests every spec of your fly fishing game to get there. But yeah, bluegills, bass, smallmouth bass has become huge here in Michigan, especially for fly fishing. Most people think rivers, trout, steelhead salmon, but we have so many rivers here in Michigan that are teeming with trophy smallmouth bass that really get overlooked by a lot of the bass fishermen out there because they're out fishing lakes doing their bass boat thing. We call them glitter boats, sparkle boats, doing that type of thing. But the drift boats are just wading in some of these rivers here for smallmouth bass is just absolutely outstanding. And then working your way up to pike and muskie, you limit your chances of what you're going to catch, but there's definitely that huge trophy aspect out there.
That is awesome. You know, just thinking about that, imagine fly fishing and you know, you're going after this creature, pike and muskie, and then it's kind of funny you say a glitter boat. That just cracked us up. That's good. We like that.
Or we call it bass car.
Nice. Bass car. I like that.
Yeah.
Like NASCAR. Okay, I got you with the sponsorships and everything on it. Got to have sponsorships, though, to get them big boats out there, I guess. You know, I mean, those things aren't cheap, so.
For sure.
And if Cody is still listening, yeah, that's you, Cody. That's, you know. But, you know, okay, so you started, you know, you went out, you started with the bluegill and stuff. And then as it progressed, you know, how did you say, okay, I went through the gateway fish, but then how did you say, you know what, I don't want to stop here. I want to do the fly tying itself. How did that come about?
That's actually really interesting. So after that family vacation was over, you know, I'm 15, 16 years old. I'm going to my mom like, hey, I want to do this. I want to do this. She's like, well, I'm not going to sink all this money into it unless you really want to do it. So what she did for Christmas that following winter is I got a fly tying kit for Christmas. Before I got a rod, before I got anything else, she's like, okay, let's see you get into this. And I got into it, and I was tying, you know, books for bass and for bluegill and trout and stuff. And after that, my birthday's in the beginning of June, so June came around. My mom's like, you still into it? I'm like, yeah. And so we went and we got my first fly rod kit, and then I was off and running. As far as the flies, getting to where I am now with tying flies, I've been all over the board. I started, you know, I aimed for trout. You know, I fell in love with all the publication that was out there, right? The trout, the dry fly, all that type of stuff. Michigan trout streams. We have such great heritage here for fly fishing and trout. Trout Unlimited was started here in Michigan. The most popular dry fly pattern, the Adams, originates here from Michigan. So that's where I kind of went, and I got into it and went hardcore for that, with bass on the side as a thing of where I could, you know, use it as something to get better for trout. But then along the way, about 10 years later, I kind of realized that to go from where I live in southeastern Michigan, I live in Oakland County now, to get to good trout water, it's a 3 to 3.5 hour drive.
Exactly.
And that's for a couple days of fishing, and you never know how good that's going to be.
Right on. Yeah.
But everywhere around us, we've got warm water possibilities that are absolutely outstanding.
Did you catch that,
you know,
Dan?
bass, pike.
He was talking about flies. He said he called it one the Adams fly.
That scares me.
Yeah.
Is it really known as the Adams fly?
I had to say that.
I said that, and I'm like, they're going to play with this one.
Yep,
You're right.
Of course I
You're
am.
right. He's good. And it's like, man, really? It's got to be called the Adams fly, really? But anyways, okay, so now you're getting into it. You're starting to read all the publications. You figure out how to tie an Adams fly. I don't know why, but anyways,
it catches
I
fish.
did. I mean,
right, exactly. So now getting into this for somebody that you were learning then, and then how did you figure out that, hey, right a couple miles away is Lake St. Clair?
well, I'd always fished Lake St. Clair growing up. I mean, it was a pretty close drive to where I lived. I fished it from shore. I still, to this day, love fishing Metro Beach. They now call it Lake St. Clair Metro Park at the end of Metro Parkway here in Macomb County on Lake St. Clair. I still love fishing that place from shore. I do it every year. Without boat access, it's a great place to fly fish. So I took kind of took fly fishing. I'm like, okay, well, I used to do fishing here. Well, let's kind of adapt that to it, along with some pond bassing and those types of things that kind of got me into it. And you see some videos, and now with the advent of YouTube, I mean, it's all your imagination is gives you an idea, and you can go find ways to help you see through it.
Absolutely, and that and a lot of people don't know it, but how great Lake St. Clair is for fishing is just incredible.
Well, and how big it is. I mean, it's like the sixth Great Lake.
Truthfully, it is.
And it's in the waterway. We got a map up here right now of it, in the relationship to Detroit, between Detroit
Right.
and Port Huron. And you can't fish all of it because part of it's in Canada, correct?
Well, you can fish it. You just got to have your Canadian license.
Right. Well, I'm saying if you just got a Michigan, Michigan fishing license.
Right.
Now, what?
But it's not as complicated as it used to be to go across the border.
Okay.
To fish those waters.
Really? They see. I haven't done it in so long, but I'm glad to hear that, because that used to be one tedious thing. You were so afraid to cross that line. It was like, you're going to get paid. You're going to be paying dearly if you do.
Right. I'm not sure exactly how it works now, because it's been a couple of years since I crossed the border, but I know that that it did get to a point where you had to make a phone call as you were crossing the border, and I'm pretty sure they backed that down a little bit.
Oh, good. So, so now you're getting into these bigger creatures, and how did you figure out you had to go from these little itty bitty flies? Now you're making them for a muskie and a pike, that you're making them quite a bit bigger.
Yeah, I mean, go from when I started making a fly, it was about less than a half an inch, to now a lot of flies I tie are in the 8 to. And it took a little bit. A lot of what I learned, there was an evolution. I went from trout in streams to wanting to catch salmon and brown trout and steelhead on the shores of Lake Michigan and Lake Huron. So I started to learn a lot of East Coast techniques from a lot of the guys who fish for striped bass and bluefish out east into my fly tying repertoire as far as skills go. And then I made the transition to fishing to Lake St. Clair for pike and muskie, and I just expanded those techniques to make those bigger flies that I'm making now.
And we got up on the screen right now, we got two flies that we had up there. Now we got a picture of a big old table full with your two boys. And
oh yeah.
And I see a lot of ones that look like perch on there. And is that kind of like what you're going after, is getting that look?
Perch is big, especially on Lake St. Clair. It's such clear water, and if you get a day like, today here in southeastern Michigan, where it's bluebird skies, natural is kind of the way you want to go. So perch is a huge item. It's a huge forage for the fish in Lake St. Clair, as well as suckers and white bass and shad and things like that. But perch is also what people like, right? So you say that Rapala for a long time said that fire tiger was their number one selling color. Was it their number one selling color because it's what the fish like best, or was it their number one selling color because that's what the people like best? So it's hard to tell. So that's one of my better sellers, is those perch type colors. But everything you can see on that table and that thing, that's the table I usually put together before the Midwest Fly Fishing Show every March here in Warren. But that has there's lots of blacks. I call them black and. So your black and your confidence color can be like red. A lot of guys like black and red, black and yellow, black and chartreuse. I like a color personally I call it Mardi Gras. It's black with pink and chartreuse. That's my black and confidence color. There's fire tiger, which is the bright green. The chartreuse orange with the black stripes and maybe a little bit of black on it. That's huge. Any of the sucker imitations, those are big with a lot of those guys too. and there's constantly coming out colors with the conventional tackle from Muskie that are making different colors that I constantly look at and try and play with, and can I convert this to a fly?
Oh, there you go. That's a good one. I bet you're walking in the store looking and go, hey, can I make that into a fly?
Absolutely. I've taken many pictures. A few years ago, I went to the Milwaukee Muskie show. Me and a couple of buddies did a table. We did a table there to see how it went, and I was in just this giant expo center that was just filled with musky lures. I took so many pictures of so many different colors that I still use today to try and figure out, hey, can I make this into a fly?
And how many times have you tried and failed? Right?
Oh man, there's so many colors that don't work. I don't get out as much as I used to for muskies, just because the guy I fish with now gets paid to take people out instead of just buddy fishing with me. Captain Eric Grajewski. But so there's colors that we know work, especially there's colors we know work on different bodies of water, different sections of that body of water, and there's different colors that I've asked around to some pretty prominent muskie fishermen that look amazing. You think that color is going to work great, like clown, chartreuse and white with a red head. That's an amazing color for pike, smallmouth bass, for walleye, but muskies won't even sniff it. But man, does it look awesome.
Picky fish.
Picky eaters.
Yeah, picky eaters, right?
Well, those flies that you had on the table there that you make, what is, if I was to come to your table and say, hey, I want the one that looks like a perch, what would I pay for that? Oh, looks like
lost you guys.
Oh,
yep,
you're back.
You're back. Yep, there you go. Okay, so if I come to like one of your shows and you've got a table full of flies there, and I want to pick one out and I want to buy the perch one, what would that cost me?
Most of my muskie flies range between $10 to $30.
Okay.
The simplest, easiest looking perch fly that I sell is called a Bingo. It's really effective. Single hook fly, all synthetic. It's $10. But then you start adding the bucktail and the thin raccoon and saddle feathers, and then the price of the flies go up.
Okay, all right. So, and if somebody wants to check out
interesting story about that.
Go ahead.
Interesting story about that. So about 5 years ago now, there was a big fashion thing that hit the fly fishing, fly tying world really big. Do you remember when women were putting those feathers in their hair, those dyed colored feathers?
Right.
Those took the price of what we call the saddle feathers from a chicken, from about $30 for the patch on a chicken, $30 for the average fly tire. That took those up to over $100 because women were starting to put them in their hair.
Oh, really?
Now, since that fashion fad has gone away, so the prices kind of come down again, but it's still not as easy to find them as it once was. And what was really funny is I'd ask women when I'd see out around who were sporting these feathers in their hair, who thought they were so chic, and they thought they were from some exotic bird, and I'd say, you know that you have a chicken feather in your hair, right? And the look on their face was priceless.
I can understand that, but that's amazing to see that these feathers and what it did to the market.
Yeah, you see something you use in your hobby or your industry, and all of a sudden it becomes a fad
in something else,
something completely unrelated, and the price goes sky high.
Wow, it's actually crazy. A really neat story.
Well, I tell you what, we're bumping up.
It was insanity. It's gotten back to normal though now.
That's good. Well, we're getting on our first break here, so I'll tell you what, let's take a quick break. We'll step outside. We come back. We'll continue the conversation, talk maybe a little more about the fish and Lake St. Clair. So we'll be right back after this.
Great.
Okay, everybody on the live stream, Anybody on the live stream is watching. If you got any questions for Eli and about fly fishing, let us have it.
Yep. Go ahead and chime in, and
we'll
pass them along.
We'll pass them along to him as he's sitting here in Oakland County, enjoying the nice weather out there, as you can see on the screen. It's nice. So, that is amazing. You know, a fashion statement by somebody turns your market into something that just.
Too bad somebody couldn't do that with the trapping industry.
I was just about to say, with the pelts and stuff like that.
It'd be nice.
That's it.
Well, that happened about 200 years ago.
Right? Yeah. We're a little late for that one, right? We're just a little behind the time.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Second segment. Stand by. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. Second segment of the show. Still sitting here with Eli talking about flies and fishing and everything.
And everything under the sun. First of all, where can we go to find? Do you get a website we can go to and look at your stuff?
Yep. GreatLakesFly.com. And then you can find me on Instagram, Great Lakes Fly. On Instagram, I've got a Facebook page too, Great Lakes Fly. I mainly post mostly to the Instagram, and everything kind of flows over to the Facebook page, just because the flies look cool in pictures, so I post them to Instagram, and everything kind of flows over. But I do the fishing pictures and shares and stuff, and there's really a really cool community. As you guys probably know, the outdoors community is pretty cool on Instagram, and I've got lots of buddies that I've kind of grown up with in this business. That we all got Instagram pages and stuff now.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Okay, so let's take somebody who's a beginner at this and kind of let's fill them in a little bit as to what they need to do to get into fly fishing in general, because someone's got to start out somewhere, and I know I'm still way learning, and I can just barely make it to the water.
Right.
So where would we start? Take us through that.
So one of the biggest things that I think is a hindrance to fly fishing is, at least the perception, is there's this perceived high barrier to entry that it costs a lot to get started. And it really doesn't. You can go to any of your sporting goods stores and pick up I say anywhere between $50 to $150 kit that has everything you need but flies. Some of them even have the flies. And you can go out and catch bluegill this afternoon.
I tell you what.
So that's a great way to start.
I'll agree with you on that, because I won't lie. I bought the 2 starter kits over at Walmart, and I think they were $49.99, and it had everything to start there. All right, so we go and we get it. Where do we go from there?
Anywhere you go catch bluegills, especially in the early spring, that's where you can get started, and then you can kind of go up from there. I think there's few things that give you a rush better than topwater fishing, whether it be fishing conventional tackle, or you can get yourself some bass poppers and start playing around with bass that way. And then just like anything else, you up your learning curve and you up your skills, and you can get better equipment that makes you perform better, that helps you do different things. Like I said, the rivers are outstanding here, especially in southeastern Michigan and across actually all of southern Michigan. You got the Grand River, lots of rivers that flow into the Grand, the Kalamazoo, the Flint River is a fantastic fishery. So you got lots of rivers you can go and catch different types of fish. And believe it or not, a big popular fish here in southeastern Michigan to catch on flies is the carp.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, I think
they call them golden bonefish.
I don't know. It might have been you that posted a video of somebody catching one, and it looked like a trip when that rod's bending and you're catching carp.
Yeah, it's they fight like crazy, and they are not easy to catch on a fly. I've only caught a few. They're not my favorite species to target because the action is a little slow as far as how you get the fish to hit. You've got to work that fly really slow and be really patient and let it sit still for a while. I like a more faster moving type of predator that's going after those flies, like a pike and a smallmouth bass. But I'll fish for carp when I can.
All right, cool. You know, we do have a question. We're talking about starter fly rods. Terry DeFaw, a.k.a. my brother, wants to know what fly fishing, what is a good starter fly rod for fishing the South Channel on Harson's Island?
Not the easiest place to start. That's not fishing for pond bluegills, that's for sure. But something you probably want to do is a 7 or an 8 weight fly rod for that particular area, with probably not even a floating fly line. A floating fly line is what everybody usually starts with. The line floats on top of the water, where you're going to want something that gets you down a little bit, either an intermediate, which sinks 1 to 2 inches per second, or they have varying different types of sink rates that can get your fly down even deeper.
All right.
But that's what I would, like a 9'7" weight, 9'8" weight, and then with not a floating line, but a line that actually sinks below the surface.
Okay.
All right. We got another question here from Tom Genzel, a friend of mine, and actually, I think if I remember right, he builds his own rods. Hook sizes for bass, pike, and muskie. What kind of hook sizes are you running?
For muskie, most of my flies are on 6 or 5/0 hooks, not 5 or 6, but 6/0 with the /0. Right. Almost everything I tie.
Locked up there again.
Yep. Hold on. He'll come back. Oh, he's coming back.
Okay. We lost you there for just a second.
You got me?
Yeah, we got you back.
Okay, so we start off with a 6.
Okay.
6/0.
So pretty much everything I use is like an 0 size, a 1/0 for 1/0 through like 6/0. Most of my muskie fly 4 in combination.
Okay.
All right.
But pretty big stuff.
Well, you're catching pretty big fish.
For some bass flies you can use. Yep, for sure. And you want them to when you're fishing those bigger flies, you're cutting out the bottom end of the food chain for sure.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Well, I tell you what, we got some pictures here. Actually, 2 pictures of the muskie that you've caught. You're holding them up here for the camera. I assume that these pictures were taken on fish you caught on Lake St. Clair.
Yep, that was on Lake St. Clair, that muskie there. That was on Mardi Gras. That's my, like I said, that's my confident color that day in particular. I wasn't feeling it. I was changing flies like every 5 or 6 casts. The fly wasn't working right. And I go, you know what? I'm going to go to my old standby, and I went to Mardi Gras, and it paid off.
Yeah, nice.
It paid off in a big way.
I would say so.
Yeah.
You know,
railroad tie.
You know, exactly. You know, and it. I can't tell what time of year it was when you caught these muskie, but to fly fish for them, is there a certain time of year that's better than another to get out there to do this?
I'm particular. I love early season. Lake St. Clair season used to open on the first Saturday of April, and that would be when the now recent changes this year. Lake St. Clair is actually open all year, starting on April 1st this past year. A lot of the muskie guys, the hardcore guys, really left them alone up until that traditional opener. But my favorite is probably June is the best, probably because action-wise, because you're going to see everything. You're going to everything's coming off the spawn. The muskie coming off the spawn, the pike, you're not seeing muskies. You pretty much got something else to play with. When you get to late season, end of November into ice up, that's big fish season. But man, you're not seeing anything. Like you either catch fish or you don't see anything. The bass are gone, the pike are gone, and you're either catching muskie and you usually don't see them. The water's getting kind of churned up a little bit, so it's kind of you got to really have your mental self checked up, because you can get down in the dumps and you can miss fish easy if you're not sharp late in the season, because there's not a lot to keep you sharp. Where there's early in the season, you may have bass or pike chasing your fly when you're going for muskies. So those are my 2 favorite parts: the beginning of the season, just because everything's hungry and everything's chasing, and then the end of the season is when you can really get the big trophy.
Well, talking about the fishing style and everything and the different types of season, I mean, I'm not a fisherman, so this may be a dumb question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I don't know. When you're out there on the water,
go ahead.
Are you fishing like a spot and you're casting to a hole where it might hold fish, or is your boat moving?
Boat's moving, especially in Lake St. Clair. Lake St. Clair, I mean, you're fishing a general area, but Lake St. Clair is just one big flat. There's not really a lot of structure. So what you're going to wind up doing is fishing giant areas and drifting over likely hold spots, different weed beds. There may be a change that you may be running into, maybe a water temperature change or a water clarity change where you can see the 2 different colors of water going up against each other.
Okay.
Those are the types of things you're going to look for in Lake St. Clair.
Okay, gotcha.
You know, he talks about that, and before we went on air, and like we were talking. Not often do you see a guy in the middle of Lake St. Clair where you cannot see any land around you, on top of a boat fly fishing. And we knew soon as Brian, another cousin, his uncle actually, and it was like, that's Eli. It's like, I mean,
Yep.
it was like one of those things. It's like there's about a handful of people, and it's like, yeah, that's him. But you know, you're going for the muskie, and you're drifting like that. Are you going from memory from past spots?
Kind of. I mean, okay. My buddies I fish with, I don't have my own boat. I have something better than that. I have friends with boats. And his GPS is loaded with spots where every time he sees a fish, he marks them.
Oh, okay. All right.
And it's amazing when you come up on those spots.
Okay. And in general, where he's seen fish is where they're going to be again?
Yes.
Okay.
It might be seasonal, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, you don't know what it is because definitely the bottom isn't changed that much, but it might be 2 log laying on the bottom or a rock or something that just changes something that holds those fish there, that holds those baby fish there, that keeps those big fish there. So a big tip too is use your electronics. If you see a muskie, mark it and come back to that spot maybe later or another day, and chances are you're going to see another fish there. Okay.
So we've talked about getting into the fly fishing part of it. What about if, just like you're young and you want to get into the fly tying, what are we looking at, if you can, in general cost about what somebody's going to have to get into just to get into, like you said, the tying of the basics?
And you have your basic kits out there that run 100 or 50 to 150 bucks again, like kind of like the regular kits. But what is available now versus what was available 20, 25 years ago when I got into this is vastly different. You have clubs and classes that are available here in southeastern Michigan. Schultz Outfitters does a thing in the winter where they've got bar flies where every Wednesday night in January, February, and March, they have a group of tires to get together. They bring in good tires for experienced folks, and they also have a beginner's table that you can go to and learn from. And those aren't just at Schultz Outfitters. Everybody's got one. Nomad Anglers has a shop in Lansing and in Grand Rapids. They do the same thing. And all across, every fly shop's pretty much got that now, but also social media, YouTube. You can learn how to tie any fly you want on YouTube. You can learn from great tires, put up demonstration videos on their Facebook pages. They do live streams. You can learn a lot on social media right now when it comes to fly fishing and really get an idea of what's going on and communicate with those great tires to try and figure out what you're doing wrong. I've even done that on certain patterns that I can't get right. I'll go to certain tires and say, hey, what am I doing wrong? And you get that response and you move on.
Okay.
So between different fly tires with the recipes, people don't like hold that close to the vest. They're willing to share that information.
I'm a completely open book. Most of them are, because sometimes it's the technique and the way that you do it and the way that you kind of position it on the fly or do certain things. But as far as materials, I'm not secretive about anything that I use. I'm open source. One of the things that's really hard to do is tie thousands and thousands of flies to get it right, which I've done. So that's kind of one where the rubber kind of meets the road on that. So I can show you exactly what to do, but I've also gone through thousands of bucktails to try and figure out exactly what works best, where that's not available to the average tire sometimes.
Okay. Now speaking of tying flies, like a musky size one, the big one, how long does it take you to actually tie a fly?
My big flies probably about 30-35 minutes. My more common flies like the Optimus Swine, which is probably my most popular pattern, I can tie those in about 20 minutes.
Okay, so we see a table full of and think about that, 20 to 30
There's lots
minutes.
of hours there.
Yeah, exactly. And you're gearing up for your best show that you're going to be going to, and here you got all this time invested. Yeah, I definitely, that's not just something.
And that's the reason they cost, because there's time invested along with material.
Right. Exactly. And
a lot of sleep is lost.
I bet.
Especially when you got kids, because you can't be doing it when the.
Yep, I do most of my tying between 10 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning.
There you go. See, you just get out there and it's.
You talked a little bit about the different materials you use and the cost, how that was actually increased by fashion design in a completely different area. But have you seen certain materials that you use that may no longer be available, maybe due to
happens all the time?
Okay, cost
especially
or
synthetics. Nothing animal related usually.
Okay.
Usually it's synthetics, because most of the synthetics that are used in fly tying are not designed for fly tying. There's something somebody comes across who is a fly tyer or who's looking for something, and they try it. They throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. See if tires like it. So the question just came up where you brought up, Mike, about how is there anything I keep secret? If it's synthetic, I tell everybody in the world about it, because that's the chance that material is going to stay around.
Right, I got you.
Okay.
I remember at one point, taxidermist here locally that I use, he had told me about. My son was tying flies for small fish back. I don't know, what was that? 5-10 years ago.
Yep.
And there was a certain feather for a certain recipe he needed, but it was no longer available because the actual bird that it came from became endangered. Yep. And he could no longer get it. So then I think they had to go to a synthetic. That's the reason.
Yeah, well, there's certain types like that. That's more in the trout and steelhead stuff that I don't really play in that arena too much anymore. But I think I do know. I think those are jungle cock feathers.
Yep, exactly.
Where there's very limited availability of natural feathers out there, and the ones you can get are super expensive.
Right.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. See, he knew exactly what I was talking about.
He wasn't in the area, but the name jumps up. So.
Well, I tell you what, we're hitting on our second break here, so I'll tell you what, this is a good spot to take a break.
Yep.
Step outside, we come back, we can kind of maybe wrap things up.
Yeah, we'll talk to him. We got to talk to him about some recipes.
All right.
Okay.
So we'll step outside. We'll be right back after this. Okay, guys, on the live stream, hang on.
On the live stream.
You got questions? Shoot them over.
Right.
Got quite a few people on right now.
you know, and then it's just a matter of, yeah, that's funny, you know. Again, the industry leading the way, especially if they become endangered. Holy cripe!
Yeah,
I can only imagine. So.
Yeah, lucky for me that the chicken hasn't become endangered.
You haven't seen me eat chicken yet. I can put that bird on an endangered species list real quick.
I've done that. I've looked up how many pounds or how many chickens the average person eat in a year. It was a lot less than what I thought.
Really?
I think it said like 26 or 29.
Okay.
I'm like, I eat way more than that.
Right?
Right? Man, that's crazy.
Okay, you ready, Dan?
Yep.
All right. Okay, here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, 1.
Wait.
Welcome back. Third segment of the show.
Yeah, third segment of the show. We're
Talking with your family member.
Eli of Great Lakes Fly. First off, if we want to find out more about you and come visit your website, where do we got to go?
GreatLakesFly.com or the Instagram page, Great Lakes Fly, and then Facebook, Great Lakes Fly as well.
Okay. You know, you're doing all this fishing and getting out there when you can, and you're not doing any shows.
Yep.
Is there any place particular where to get your supplies that you can let people know, hey, this is a good place to go? Is there any, I don't know, Cabela's, a Bass Pro, a certain store that, a fly store or something to get supplies?
Right. We're fortunate here in Michigan to have some really good fly shops. Schultz Outfitters is probably the king of probably the Midwest fly shops here. That's located in downtown Ypsilanti. If they don't have it, they can get it for you. Corey Hasselhoon is become my go-to. He works in the shop there every day. And if I can't find something, he helps me track that down. You got Nomad Anglers, they brought up earlier. They have 2 shops. They've got one in Lansing and one in Grand Rapids. So pretty much all the big centers here in Michigan have it. And then you guys were talking about the fly shop at Cabela's, the Cabela's in Chesterfield. I really like their selection. I've been over there a few times now. They don't have everything, but they've got pretty much all the basics covered if you want to get started. Even into the pike and muskie thing, they've got the long feathers, they've got the good feathers, they got good bucktails, and they got lots of stuff. Then you might have to go out to some of the specialty stuff, some of the bigger. I get a lot of stuff from Tacklecraft catalogs to buy bulk hooks and things like that. But rattles, I put rattles in all my flies too. So I'll reach out to some different places to get some of that stuff. But we got some really good places here in Michigan to lean on.
So definitely can check out a Cabela's and check out their selection that they have. I know right here in Fenton, Red Fox Outfitters has a fly room, I guess they call it, and they've got stuff in there. I don't know if you've ever been there, Eli, but
I have not. I've run across them at the fly shows and stuff, but I've never actually ventured into that shop yet.
And like you said, I know that they do a thing in the winter too about the fly tying. I know I'll see on Facebook that you
don't they use a local bar?
They go across the street to the rough drought.
Okay.
And they do it there. Just kind of like what he does down at the place in Ypsilanti.
Yeah, I've sat and watched my son back when he was tying flies, and it just amazed me, you know, that you take this material and some thread and some glue and a hook and put it in a vise and start spinning, doing your thing, and all of a sudden he's got something that looks like a bug. You know, in your case, you're making small fish, you know, like the perch pattern or whatever. But it really blows my mind what you guys can do with just some material. You know, it's
pretty cool. Like I love tying at shows because people will sit in there and watch me put everything together, and you know, it goes from, you know, different colored bucktails, a patch of fin raccoon, some chicken feathers, and some flashy stuff, and just laying there on the table, and all of a sudden it looks like a fish, and it kind of all comes together. And I get a kick out of people that every year I've got people that will sit and watch me for hours and just try and take in and learn as much of the techniques as they can.
I tell you what, one of the busiest areas at the Michigan United MUCC show, the Outdoor Rama, is I don't know what group it is there that they are flying ties there.
Flying ties?
Ties flying. Thank you. Come on.
That's a common trip up right there.
See? And it's you're right, Eli. You know, you get a group around when somebody's flying at tie flying. Do it again. That you get a group from young to old. They just start to get around this person who's doing this, and they watch it come alive, so to speak.
Hey, it's like artwork.
That pattern he's got with the perch one is wild. You know, to start out with just a hook and all of a sudden he ends up having something that looks
Like that.
Yeah, and looks exactly like a perch. It's a cool fact. It's almost very artistic.
It is. It's artwork, I think. Truthfully, Do you know like the history behind this? I mean, like when did people start making flies? I mean, how long ago are we talking? Do you know that?
From what I've remember, I had in my fly fishing book that I got for that Christmas when I got my fly tying kit. I remember it talked about, I think England is where it kind of started. England in the Nordic areas.
Okay.
They started for Atlantic salmon and trout.
Okay.
It's kind of where it started, and then it kind of grew from there. Officially, as fly fishing, I think people have been trying to. As long as they've been trying to catch fish on a hook, I think they've been trying to make things that look like on a fly type lure out there. So, but fly fishing itself started in England.
Okay. All right. I just wondered. Never knew.
And if anybody's interested in hooking up with somebody,
No pun intended.
Hooking up, yeah, no pun intended, with somebody about going out on the lake, your friend who guides, which a little bit of info on him.
Eric Gryaski. Muskies, fly fishing. He does. I think be out for gear with gear too if the conditions aren't right, or it is a lot of work to fish for a muskie with a fly rod because getting that fly and working that rod. So he's got gear available too to kind of switch on and off. And he also guides for sturgeon, which is a blast too. Not on flies, fishing with worms in the bottom, but man, calling up dinosaurs.
I was gonna say fly fishing for sturgeon. Hold on one second. But if you're doing it the normal way, okay, that's
right.
different. It's like I was like whoa, but
when you guys go out on the water and you're fly fishing,
I've had a few friends catch.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I've had a few friends catch sturgeon as a bycatch in northern Wisconsin.
That is crazy.
Oh, geez,
that's crazy. But what is your success rate? I mean, if you go out, let's say you and me and Danny went out, and we're there and we're watching you, do your thing. Are you going to catch a muskie ever? How many times out? I mean, on average, what do you think it is?
Don't go with me recently because my streak's been bad.
Okay.
I had a streak where I probably had 5 or 6 trips in a row where I boated a fish, but I think I'm 0 for 4 on my last 4.
Okay.
But I mean, seeing fish, I mean, it's been good. I don't know. Sometimes you put multiple fish in the boat. Sometimes you're not seeing anything. The biggest thing that I always say when fishing Lake St. Clair is when you're fly fishing Lake St. Clair is if you're not seeing, especially if you're fishing the early spring and summer, is if you're seeing move. Because if you're not seeing a perch follow your fly, if you're not seeing a smallmouth bass follow your fly, a pike, whatever, that means there's nothing there for the muskies to eat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
There's no feeder fish.
Late in the season, you're not going to see anything. You got to go on hope that you're in the right spots.
Okay, so.
But early in the season, if you're not seeing anything, you got to just keep moving.
Okay. Well, when you're out there, are you running a graph looking for bait fish? I mean, are you trying to follow bait fish or no?
No, but you look for the likely holds. You look for the weeds, the right types of weeds, the right types of watercolor. Are the things that we kind of, with the experience we've been doing it. Eric and I started fishing together in 2009 is when he started fishing for muskies. I was on the first trips that he did where he was trying to learn the lake. And so that was in summer of 2009. So he's got almost 10 years in where he's been chasing these things, and he's gotten his learning curve went really, really quick.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I guess so. So definitely people, if you're interested to get out there on the water, hit him up for some fly experience. Yep. And it sounds like the early season is the best.
Right. Okay.
But okay, so now
that's my favorite, just because there's lots of action.
Well, that's it. And truthfully, it's like with any sport. If you going out for the first time, you don't want to go out there and just sit in a boat and say, okay,
drift.
This was fun. But
right.
The more action, definitely the better. So we've talked about fly fishing. We've talked about getting into it. We've talked about getting into fly tying. Now, you personally, give us a story about your favorite fly fishing episode, whether it be your big fish or the one that got away or the one you wrapped around your ankle or whatever, caught your ear with a hook. I don't know. Tell us.
Let's see. So this is a muskie that I caught pretty early. I think it was 2011. Yeah, I think it was 2011, 2012 in there. Eric and I were fishing together. It was a midweek trip. It was on my birthday, so we call this the birthday fish. We talk about it all the time. And So we're fishing, and all of a sudden we hadn't seen anything all day, and then all of a sudden there's these windows that open up, and all of a sudden you start seeing these fish. So all of a sudden Eric's got one chased, and it turns away. I get one chasing, and it turns away. A little bit longer in that drift, I've got one chasing. I don't have one chasing, now I've got two, and these are probably low 40s fish, and they come right up to the boat. A lot of muskie hits are visual. You see almost all of them. They're usually within 15 to 20 feet of the boat, sometimes right at the boat. So I've got these two muskie chasing my fly. I go to do a J where you're trying to turn the fly in the end, and the muskie comes up, and the one that was chasing from behind came up and inhaled the fly. And I go to set the hook, and when you set the hook for a muskie, you've got your in your right hand you've got your rod, or whatever your dominant hand is, you got your rod, and the other hand you've got the line where you're trying to strip the line. I completely missed the line. I had like buck fever, and I missed the line. The line just went completely slack. This fish is down there. I see the fly in its mouth, and I don't know what to do. I just grabbed the fly, and I grabbed it. I set the hook. Fly line is all tangled up in my feet, and Eric looks at me and goes, "What do we do?" I'm like, "Help me!" Get my line all entangled, and we fought it in, and that was my first legal muskie.
Nice.
See,
that is
So that one left a tooth on the boat after we were all said and done. I got about a 3/4 inch muskie tooth in the bottom of the boat that I got still on my fly tying bench now.
nice.
See, it's not simple.
No, and you get buck fever or muskie fever just like
There you go.
when you're out deer hunting. That's
Panicking away.
That's cool.
You know, it's just one of those things that it doesn't matter what it is, but it's exciting.
Well, yeah, that's why we do it. No matter what it is in the outdoors.
And there was one day in particular that got me over buck fever or muskie fever, I call it. Was a day that the fish were all over the place, but they had zero interest in hitting. I think in about a 3.5 hour span, we probably had about 40 to 50 follows.
Wow.
Where they're following right up to the boat. So I just got so used to having a fish follow right up to the boat that from that point on, I don't quiver anymore when those fish are coming and chasing that fly.
Okay, so being a fisherman, you gotta have a favorite recipe for fish.
For cooking fish?
For cooking fish.
Oh, that's easy.
All right, what is it?
Most of the fish, I don't eat a lot of freshwater fish. Walleye, you just batter them up and you fry them up. But grilled tuna steaks.
Okay.
You olive oil, salt, and pepper, man. Grill them for 4 minutes aside, and it's incredible. My kids love it.
If you can get kids to love fish at that age, you're good.
That's awesome.
They love grilled tuna. So and then they want to we're going up north next weekend, and they want to try salmon. So
Okay.
I'm going to give that a run.
There you
Nice. go. Stepping back just a little bit, we've talked a lot about fishing. We talked a lot about, the fish itself, how to do it, the gear, the whole 9 yards here.
Mm-hmm.
We're basing all of this, what we're asking you about Michigan. Let's step outside Michigan.
Yep.
When you go to some place else that might hold big fish, is it that much different to learn to fish in a different area, or are the techniques kind of similar?
Here is different. Most other places are more similar. Lake St. Clair is such a unique fishery. You brought that up earlier. It's on the metro area. I talk to people at shows all the time. I say that Lake St. Clair, if it were 1,000 miles in the bush and you had to take one of those flying planes to get there, it would be written up all the time about the greatest freshwater fishing lake in the world. But because it's up against Metro Detroit and it has all this perceived traffic, which it stands up against because it produces trophy fish of all sorts of time, it kind of gets overlooked. But it's a very unique fishery we have here in Lake St. Clair, in even in the river system too, with St. Clair River and Detroit River. Most of the other places, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and in other places like that, are much more similar than what we have here in Michigan. So it is a learning curve when you go outside of the state, for sure.
Have you been saltwater fly fishing?
I have not.
Okay.
But lately, with my youngest boy, we watch the Blacktip H videos on YouTube. If you want to get a kid into fishing, watch Blacktip H videos. They're kid friendly, and they will get any kid hooked on fishing for sure. There's just so much excitement, and they catch lots of big fish in the saltwater. But one thing I've learned is there's fish that I want to catch, and there's fish that I don't, for sure. Some fish seem boring, and some fish definitely, that you talked earlier about hitting flies with nasty thoughts. Fish like a Jack Crevalle, that's like my dream fly fishing target in Florida.
All right, cool. So I guess, if you're interested and if you want to know more, you can always send Eli a question. Get him on Facebook, find him on Instagram, hit him up with his website. But you know what? I think we're gonna let you go. We're gonna step outside, and thanks for thanks for coming on the show. Great Lakes Fly.
Oh man, thanks for having me. It's a blast.
Hey, we'll have you back on. Maybe in the new year when you're getting ready to go down to Schultz and stuff. We'll hook up with you and find out where we can find you, and maybe go watch you do some fly tying.
Hey, that's awesome.
All right. Take care, and we're gonna step outside real quick. We're gonna take our next break. We'll be right back after this.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right,
cool.
Take care.
All right. Like I said, I'll send you the links, and then I'll get email me the emails for those guys. So, all right.
What's that? I just cut out there for a second.
Oh, no problem. Hey, I'll send you the links to the show, email to you, and then we'll talk more.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thanks, guys. It was a lot of fun.
All right. Take care.
Thanks.
Okay, folks, we'll save this one off here, and we'll have our last segment here in just a minute. Dealing with a little bit of Skype issues. It's really strange. We can get Danny in the UP clear as day, and a guy that's in the next county over, just north of Detroit, and we have problems with Skype. But that's part of it,
That's part of it. And
that's the way it goes.
just like Alex Tate and right down the road, right? Same thing.
Yep, same thing. So,
but no, that's cool. I mean, that's not your typical a river runs through it, right?
No, it's not. That's more like teeth run through it.
When you leave a muskie tooth in the bottom of the boat, that's pretty cool.
Right on. All right, you ready for this last one here?
Let's do it. All
right, here we go. Stand by in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. Last segment of the show. Talking big fish. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was.
I'm not a fisherman. I like to drown worms, and I like to piddle and play at it, but I couldn't imagine getting one of those big critters on the end of a rod and trying to land that thing, That's something else.
Let alone when you're using a lure to catch a pike or something.
Right.
But to do it with a fly rod.
Where
it follows, which it does with lures too, but
yeah.
You've seen them with the fly rods, and imagine how they're bent over, and you've caught trout and stuff up there on spinning reels, right? So, it's just another way to get outdoors.
Absolutely.
And like right now is a good time to get out there because it's the hottest part of the year, and they're kind of floating towards the top and hanging out. But man, it's to start off with going after the trout and then say, you know what, I want to go one bigger or two bigger.
Right.
Man, it's pretty wild.
So, I'll tell you what, man. It's been a busy couple weeks, busy month, busy summer. I guess kind of wrap things up with the show here.
We're at Cabela's this weekend, and we were split up. I was at Chesterfield on Saturday and Saginaw today, and you were at Saginaw or Chesterfield today, and I was at Saginaw today.
Yep.
But it's always good. I had this vision today as I was sitting there because I could see down an aisle. This poor little boy dragging. He must have been able to take a shirt home, but he wasn't happy. He was dragging his little new Cabela's shirt, it looked like, and he had this big pouty face, and he was crying, and he was just dragging it, and he didn't get what he wanted.
Yeah, he probably wanted a pop gun or something
I was just about to say he was probably denied a pop gun.
Yeah.
You get a shirt instead.
Yeah, that's right. You're not taking that home because that thing's going out the window of the car as we drive home. Pop, 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 pop.
It was also an NRA weekend.
Yeah, I seen them there. They had a great day yesterday, they said, because you were at Chesterfield, and they had 56 people sign up. Today was a little slow.
Okay, I talked to him at Saginaw.
Okay.
And I said, hey, how's everything going? And she referenced Chesterfield.
Okay.
She goes, Chesterfield had a great day yesterday.
Yeah.
I said, I was there yesterday. And she says, well, what we're finding out is a lot of people in this area, she said, are already life members.
Oh, okay.
And I said, well, that's cool. I said, but that's good, you know. And she says, but they're getting a lot of, they already got a lot of people signed up, but they're adding a year or they're doing that. And like you said, today was a little slow.
I've done that over the last couple of years. You know, in my card, it has 2017 on it, but then it's got expires 2023. You know, and I went to the guy. I said, okay. I said, explain this to me. Why have I got 2017 and 2023? He said, that's when that card was issued. He said, you got a new card in 2017. Okay. He said, 2023 is when it expires. He goes, so you've paid ahead. I said, yeah. I said, every time I'm at a show, just about, I always give them either a year or 2 years and keep it rolling ahead.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm good for the next 5 years.
Yeah, and I'm a life member.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm a Patriot Life member, I think. But yeah, and it's good to see them. I've seen them people stopping over there signing up. There was a concealed weapons guy there today as well.
Mm-hmm.
And what he was doing, he was having a field trip.
Okay.
He was bringing
his class in
into the store.
Okay.
And when I saw him, I talked to him. I got his card, and he was taking them through the store. They were looking at safes.
Okay.
The one
put a
easy
pistol
access one.
Right.
They were all looking at those, and kind of he got them around the safes, and so
That's a good idea.
yeah,
That's a really good
It
idea.
was a really good. He goes, I'm on a kind of a field trip today.
Yeah.
So he showed, and I've seen him a couple more times in the store. But yeah, it was like a little field trip for the concealed weapons.
That's nice. I like. That's good news to hear, because I tell you, there's so many things out there, and I'm not talking just with concealed carry. I'm talking. You and I had this discussion today. You were driving back, and I was driving back from the two stores, and we talked.
Oh yeah.
The the lack of information right now, even on the store level with people who work there, not knowing about CWD in Michigan. And yeah, we're going to go there again. I'll try not to beat a dead horse, but the fact was, somebody working at a gun counter that doesn't know about CWD. I just assumed everybody did know about it in the state of Michigan. I talked to a guy today who was looking at buying a deer feeder, and we're sitting there talking about it, and I'm like, I'm not trying to talk you out of this by any stretch. I'm not trying to tell you to buy it, but I said, do you know January 31st of this coming January, you will no longer be able to use that in the Lower Peninsula. It'll be illegal to bait and or supplemental feed. And he looks at me, he goes, why?
Right.
I said, well, because of CWD. What's that? I was blown away that people don't know what CWD is.
Well, and we've talked about this many times before about what's wrong.
Yeah, the lack of information.
Lack of information communication.
Communication, yeah.
And you go buy a license. Here's the book.
Yeah, read it.
You read it. You know, it's like, okay, you guys got to do a little bit better than that, because some people won't take the time to read it. And it's funny you said that, because we were sitting there today, we were looking at the shelves of the attractants.
Okay.
The deer cane,
the deer lures,
deer lures, and everything. And he goes, and the guy I was sitting with goes, "What are they gonna do about that?" I said, "Well, it's not illegal to sell it."
Right. When we talked about that at the store too, it's like, what are they going to do with all this? The deer corn that they sell there,
Right. They got bags of deer corn. It's not illegal to sell it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
It'll be interesting. Unfortunately, they did we're going to ban the Lower Peninsula, with the exception of 2 days.
Right.
Okay. So the deer are going to stop feeding on Friday and not eat till Monday.
Right.
But no, it was interesting talking to a few people. I had conversations like that on the other side of the spectrum as well, at Chesterfield. But it was just, it's amazing. It really is. And he was out with his class. And matter of fact, that actually did come up. I was telling him about. He goes, I said, well, that's really good, because, there's a lot of people that, I said, I'm not a concealed weapons carrier, but I know there's a lot of people out there that might not have the right information.
Sure.
And he says, yeah, a lot of people don't know certain things they should know, but they think they know.
Right.
So that was leading me to believe that, there's and there's a lot of hidden nuances that you might want to take a reputable course to learn,
Right.
and get some information before you get a concealed weapons permit and start carrying, and because the ball game's a lot different once you pull that gun.
Yeah, or it's a lot different if you have it on you in a place you're not supposed to be.
Okay, there you go.
That as well. I mean, there's the proverbial places, in the state of Michigan that you can have a concealed carry.
Right, exactly. So he's going to be out there more. Actually, he goes to all the Cabela's in the state of Michigan.
Okay.
And I can't remember the name of the company, and I don't have the card with me. I'll get it though.
All right.
So we'll get him on the show. That's what we're going to do.
But those types of things today, I've never experienced in the store talking with people. Like you and I were talking on the way home. It's are we just hypersensitive to it because we deal with it almost on a daily basis. With the people that we talk to, the websites that we cruise through, or the Facebook page groups that we're affiliated with. We know it, we hear it, we live it, we breathe it, and you just automatically assume that there's a lot of people, that most people out there know about this, but
not really.
They don't.
There's a side of the outdoor, the people that don't know.
I ran into 3, and 2 of them worked at the store.
You're right, and that was in one day.
In one day, yes.
So it's one of those things. They got to learn to figure out how to get a good communication system down, and I don't know. I get my inclinations when I hear things and people say things, and like the percentage that we have or we don't have, and how do you get it? How do you transmit it?
Right.
Where are we going? Is the world coming into an end tomorrow or what?
Yeah.
But it's just that, and for outfitters at places like that, they kind of should know.
Yeah, when you've got a product and you've got it in the store and you're going to sell it, it's legal to sell, legal to use right now. You need to have some education about it, because if it's going to become illegal to use, you need to know those things.
Right, exactly.
You need to be able to explain that to people, and you need to be able to explain to them why it's becoming illegal, whether you agree with it or not. So,
it's knowing the rules and regulations of where you're going to be hunting. And a lady in my one of my seminars yesterday she was asking about crossbow.
Mm-hmm.
She said that she went out to Colorado to go elk hunting.
Okay.
And she had to take her scope off
because it had electronics in it.
So
yep. Can't have an electronic sight.
And that said, there must be a rule. She says, yeah, they ended up putting a pin on.
Uh-huh.
They were able to. She ended up getting a 6x6.
Okay.
So it worked out, but just that whole, here she is thinking about a scope, and all of a sudden she goes somewhere else, and they said, "Oh, you can't use it." So they had to quickly make an adjustment, and then she had to shoot, and then she ended up getting one. So that was kind of cool. Yeah,
when we went out in 2008, I believe that was the thing. We had to make sure that we had no electronics on our bow. If you had a rheostat light that pumped light into the fiber optic for the pin, that's illegal. Couldn't use it.
Yep, there you go.
Just simple things like that. So
Charles Byram says songbirds love deer cane.
We got a lot of songbirds here, Charles. They're called doves. Other states, they're called game birds.
Right. Don't go there. And Lelaine, Borton, Kilburn, are you guys going to be at Woods and Water?
Very possible.
Possibly we'll be at Woods and Water. We're probably not going to have a set, if anywhere. We're not going to have a set space. Well, if you'll catch us there,
we'll be at Spot
Shooters
booth,
hanging out with Jim and company. I know I'm going to be there roaming around. It's one of those shows that I like to roam around because there's a lot of interesting things there.
Right.
And if depending on the weather, it can either be jam packed,
right,
or if it's raining. And I'm going to try
stay away from the puppy tent.
The puppy tent.
The other thing, if we are there, hopefully we will be cruising with a little bit of Hunter's Blend coffee.
Yeah, we're trying to work something out with them
to have some samples there possibly, or at least have some that we can put in a cup for you to try. I believe Spot Shooters is looking to start selling that possibly. We're going to have it at Bowfest next Saturday.
Yeah, we're scheduled to have it at Bowfest.
Yep.
So we just got.
We're waiting on the shipment.
That's
right.
right.
Now.
So hopefully, whichever driver it is,
Yep.
makes it to the door.
Yep. So as long as the shipment comes in this week, we're going to have Hunter's Blend at Bowfest for everybody to try there. So
Right. Exactly.
it'd be good.
Yeah. So.
So yeah, for Woods and Water, we're kind of up in the air right now, but we're trying to get that on our schedule.
Yeah,
see what happens.
we'll be cruising around, walking around, and if not, we'll be stopping by Jim's, hanging out with him for a little while.
Yep.
But we're not going to have a booth or nothing like that there.
Right. So, but it's been a good week. It's been a little crazy for me, a lot of work, but I'm getting ramped up, ready to go into bow season.
Yeah, absolutely.
I picked up a new digital scale today
Really?
for the buck pole.
Okay.
Yes. This week I for camp I ordered a deer jaw extractor.
Okay.
The bone extractor
Yeah.
from QDMA. They make the jawbone extractor tool. I've got that being sent in, and a new a deer harvest catalog, keeping all of our records in. So
Okay. All right.
yeah, we're going to get serious about it this year and really start keeping good records on what we're doing there. So
I picked up 8 apple trees.
yes, you did.
Um,
You haven't planted them yet, have you?
Nope.
They got to make a trip north?
They're going to make a trip north. I've got the fencing. I've got the tree guards.
Okay.
I've got the material to put down for the weeds.
Okay, the weed barrier.
Weed barrier. And all I got left to do is get a couple bags of mulch to throw on top of that to give them a good start. Hopefully Labor Day weekend, I'll be up there. I got to do some work on the cabin, hit some fields, get some...
All right.
Per our recommendations, get some winter wheat out there.
Right.
Mow and throw.
Mow and throw.
So that's what I'm going to do.
So plant some trees. You're going to be Danny Appleseed.
I'm going to be Danny Appleseed. Danny Appleseed, throwing some wheat and being a plumber.
Okay. Got a little plumbing to do?
We got a lot of plumbing to do, but
Okay.
there's going to be a few of us cousins working together. Hopefully we knock that out in about 3 to 6 hours, and then we take care of that in a day, and then we can worry about getting the work on the property.
You know,
I'll be pulling cards too.
There you go. I got to get, speaking of cards, I got 2 new trail cams today. 2 Brownings, the ones that I've been using. First batch I bought 3-4 years ago.
Okay.
2 of them are flaky. I've got to do some work. I'm actually going to pull them apart. I think I might know what's wrong with them, but I'm like, I'm just going to pull them out of circulation right now and replace them, and then if I get them working, great, and if not, then I've got backups in the field ready to go.
There you go.
So those were my 2 purchases today: the digital scale and the 2 trail cameras.
Okay.
So
Good deal. Good deal.
all good. But we're up against time here, so I'll tell you what, for the podcast, we're going to wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. Another week.
Yep, and on the live stream, if you guys want to throw some questions or comments our way,
We'll give us a few minutes after we sign off here, and we'll be here.
So for the podcast, folks, that'll do it for us this week, folks. Alrighty, let me save this off here, guys, and
Any questions? Anything out there? Anything you want to talk about?
throw it our way.
Throw it our way. But it was. It was. Interesting slow today. They didn't do any doorbusters for.
No,
And they're not going to be doing that anymore, I guess.
not for the near future anyway.
Yeah,
for sure.
They're not going to be doing that. They are going to have a Labor Day sale,
Yes, I did hear that.
which that totally throws them for a loop.
That's a little different. Thanks, Lelaine. Appreciate it. Thanks for stopping in and checking out the show tonight.
Yeah.
It just kind of wrapping things up here on the live stream. I want to just kind of throw this out. How many shows or articles have you read on CWD in the last 2 months?
There's been a lot on social media.
There's been a ton.
There's been, it almost seems like it's almost like one every other day that I'm clicking on, starting to read it, trying to get some information or a video that I try to, but yeah, there's a ton out there right now. And we talked about this on our way about being hypersensitive, and I find that interesting. They have it in other states.
Yeah.
And you wonder if it's such a hot topic in other states as it is here,
Right.
Because the scientists we know, and people that talk about it, from Ted Nugent from Michigan to Texas,
Right.
James Kroll,
Yep.
Texas, somebody from Missouri.
That would have been Jay Gregory.
So everywhere in between, we talked to
Dr. Grant Woods down in Georgia.
Talking with Patrick Durkin up in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So it's almost like top to bottom
Yep.
and over, and it's like, geez, I wonder if anybody. I think what it is for us, because we're in that mode of finding new regulations that are happening because of it. It's
Right.
really hypersensitive.
Could be.
Colorado's been dealing with it since the 60s.
Right.
So I think pretty much they're like, yeah, okay, we've been around this road.
Been around the
before.
block.
Yeah, exactly. So,
I guess that's what I'm getting at is I wonder, across the United States, and for those of y'all who don't live in Michigan that maybe listen to the show, what's the attitude,
what's the attitude in other states?
in other states with hunters, with media personalities, with the media, with your local game officials? Is it a big issue, or is it just kind of like, okay, status quo? We know it's there. We're keeping an eye on it, and we're going to see what happens. But here, I just think we're maybe hypersensitive right now.
I think we are right now because I've noticed it on the other outdoor shows, Michigan Outdoors, Avery. I can't think of the other one. I'm right off the top of my head, but we're all touching on it. So a lot of information is pouring into the state to the hunters right now, and I think it's making us hypersensitive to it.
Yeah. And what do you do with all this information? Because there's kind of two factions here. Dealing with this. It's like you and I have talked. I don't know if we said this on the show last week or not, but Danny and I kind of on the same page, and we might differ a little bit. But I don't think the sky's falling. Do I think we need to ignore it? No. It's somewhere in between. Do we need? We need to figure this out and do our best to manage our deer.
I think on the scale of things is where we're having a problem.
Yes. Is it 0 or is it 100?
Right. And you got to weigh that out of how to attack it evenly. You can't go all the way to one end. You can't go all the way to the other end.
Yeah.
There's something in the middle.
Yep.
But you also have to explain, especially in the public's eye, you have to explain, let me rephrase that. The people that actually pay attention, you have to explain to them why you're taking the steps you are.
Right.
If I'm going to tell you we're going to do something, please tell me why we're going to do it and have an answer instead of saying, because.
Well, there was a guy today that was looking at that feeder, and I don't know if he bought it or not. I still don't know if he did or not.
Okay.
I got pulled away to another customer, but we had this discussion for probably a good 30 minutes, and it went all the way from feeding deer on his 20 acres to deer management and how CWD people are differing. People are reacting to it.
Absolutely.
And whether they're managing deer or whether the sky is falling or whether that attitude. And I explained kind of my position on it and why we were doing the logging, why we were doing habitat, and started talking about deer management. And he's like, okay, what does that mean? We talked about, the trickle rut or the third rut, second, third rut, and how that impacts fawning season, how it impacts, tightening the rut up will impact the health of your buck herd. At one point I looked over and, as I'm feeding information, he was inquisitive, but all of a sudden he just kind of got glassed over.
Yeah, you started going way above his head. You lost him.
Yeah, and that's when I had to stop at that point. I was like, you just got to do what you feel's right.
And that's interesting you say that because actually, at work, I'll translate this to at work. They want us to come up with a training session for some certain material. And we've sat down and we've discussed this. And I said, guys, first rule of thumb. We better keep this under an hour.
Or people just go.
Right.
Goes right over.
Because we're supposed to have like modules and then tests at each one and then have an overview test that you're supposed to pass.
Right.
And learning from having the show, talking to others, I said, we got to keep this under an hour because if you go over that, we're going to lose everybody.
Yep.
So right there, just like you had, you start talking to these people and they just get that glass-eyed look. It's like, oh, stop right there.
Yep.
Or you're going to have to backtrack and bring it down a notch and kind of explain it.
Yeah, the way I wrapped up with him, I told him, I said, you got 20 acres. I said, what is the land around you? He said, a lot of big ag. I said, go knock on doors and get with your landowners around there and just start getting on common ground. working together. I said, that's the best thing you can do.
And Charles Byram says, I don't see anyone really paying CWD much attention here in Iowa, even though our regs have changed because of it.
Interesting. See? Yeah, I think this area is hypersensitive to it, to tell you the truth.
Well, what's Iowa?
Yeah.
Iowa is
Big deal.
To us.
That's the destination.
It's one of those destinations. I want to go hunt Iowa, and I know
Yeah.
there's guys at work. They barely hunt Michigan, but they're putting in for their Iowa tags every year.
Yep.
So they can go to Iowa, and so yeah, I think getting back to overall education.
From what we saw today, I really do. Education and communication are the two key things, no matter, like you said, concealed carry or CWD or baiting or new rules and regs, whatever. Speaking of new rules and regs, I did notice this week that the Michigan hunting guide is out online. It's not in the stores yet. I looked for it today. It's not.
Yeah, I didn't see it either.
It's not in the store, but it is online. And I went through the basic deer regs for my area of nothing's changed for my area. It's the same as it's been. And I also looked at the trapping regulations. Strangely enough, some things have changed in the trapping for bobcat. You're allowed 2 bobcat, but you can only take 1 from our area, and you can take 2 from up in your area in the UP.
Yeah.
So yeah, but if you're gonna trap bobcat, make doggone sure you've got kill tags for them. You got to get those through the DNR. Doesn't cost anything, but you got to have those, and you got to take that cat in within 24 hours, I believe.
Okay.
Double check your regs, but you got to take it in just like a bear. They got to seal the pelt. They got to put a special tag on it, and I do believe. Do they take a tooth out of the skull, or do they keep the skull? I can't remember which.
Okay.
So, but they are allowing people in the UP to take a second cat this year.
That tells me Preds are up.
Yep, and otter, I think you can take 3 otter this year. I think that's up as well. I may be wrong on that.
That tells me that
Predators
and that's
are up.
one thing I've never seen is a bobcat up there. I've seen wolves, seen coyotes, but it's interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, check your regs. Those should be out in the stores here real soon.
Right.
So
That's kind of funny. We're talking about people buying their license because you can buy them online now.
right.
When you buy them online, do you get a regulation book?
No.
When they send it to you in the mail, you just get the licenses, right?
Yeah, and then you've got your cell phone and you're in your deer blind. When's legal shooting light today? Trying to scroll through, and then you got to zoom into all that. Stop and get a doggone regulation
Either
book and
get
carry
it-
it in your backpack.
or actually think ahead. Go to that page online, print it out, have it in your backpack.
There you go.
I do that for turkey season.
Yep.
I'll have it. I'll print it out. So okay, these are the days I'm hunting. It's usually 1 minute.
Yep. In the
1
spring,
minute.
it gets earlier. In the fall, it gets later.
Right.
So
do a little homework. Educate yourself on, and we even do that. Okay, guys, what time is it going to be for November 15th? Right.
Right.
Okay. Oh, hold on. Remember, we're in the next time zone, so flip an hour.
Yep.
So
Things you got to check into.
that's right. So.
All right, guys. Well, we've been beating this one here for
Yeah.
about an hour and 20 minutes. So we're going to wrap up the show tonight. Thanks everybody for chiming in. I think we had a good show tonight.
Yeah, we did.
Good talk.
Good
discussion.
talking with Eli.
Talking fishing instead of hunting.
Talking something. I think it was a good time to step away from all that other stuff we've been talking the last few weeks.
It was.
We'll see who we get on for next week. We got a couple things I think we can go after. Find out who we're going to talk to.
See where we're at with it, and so that means you'll have to tune in next week.
That's right.
All right, that's going to do it for us this week, folks.